practice structure-based focus on form. We have been discussing different strategies when focus of form intervention can be used in classroom settings. Now we are focusing on in the introduction of certain strategies that are focused on the form, but not at the input stage, but at the production stage. That is the stage when the learners are actually using a language. So there are three main ways in which we can do it. Number one is task naturalness. Number two is task usefulness. And number three is task essentialness. So what is task naturalness first? Task naturalness would mean that the task that you have designed at the production stage, or the tasks that you have designed for your learners so that they use a language, and this is what we mean by production. So in those tasks, the language that you want to be focused on almost arises or emerges naturally. So that would mean that the task is such that the use of the language is almost automatic, and it is embedded in the kind of task that is being given to the learners. For instance, if somebody is making a request, the language that is used for request is embedded in the task. If somebody is showing gratitude to someone else, then the task, the form of the language that expresses gratitude is embedded within the task. Although the language that the learners use for that specific language that you have chosen for focus on form, that can be avoided, yet it's very naturally there. The second type of strategies are strategies which we call task useful strategies. In these kinds of tasks or strategies, what we do is that we give a task and the learners have the option of using or not using the form. So if they use the specific form of language, then it enhances or facilitates their expression of what they want to say. So using the language that has been selected for focus is most appropriate for the completion of the task. However, it does not naturally arise from the given task. So there is a possibility that learners might be using it because it facilitates their expression or their meaning, but it doesn't mean that they cannot complete the task if they do not use the language. The third type of strategy at the production stage in the classroom setting are tasks which we call is focus on form, which we call has task essentialness. So what happens in this kind of a task? In this task, we actually make it absolutely imperative for the learners to use the language that we want to focus on. So we will say that use this to complete the task. So using the language becomes an important aspect of completing the task. Now, having said that, we must keep in mind that designing such tasks are not easy, and there are several things to be kept in mind, and sometimes this become just very, very mechanical and stilted. In the end, not to forget that learners cannot be expected to use forms that they have not internalized. What does this mean? This means that learners can use in their language the forms or structures that they have already learned. So suddenly introducing them to certain forms and then asking them to use them at production stage might not work so much for all the learners. So that means that such tasks should be given around those forms of language that they have already learned, rather than for asking them to learn the language at the same time, learn the new form at the same time while they also use it, because then it becomes cognitively demanding. So structure-based production tasks, we are saying, cater for implicit learning. So while they complete a task, they gradually imbibe the language. And it is said that in contrast to consciousness-raising strategies, which cater to explicit learning of the tasks, this is a better way, or this might be more appropriate way to focus on form, depending on the kind of the learners we have, their age, their motivation, and the setting within which learning is taking place.